And so, are AI tools closing gaps for your students or opening new ones? And again, I guess that's yeah, it ties into the last topic there on are students having difficulty with this? Do we need to close those gaps? But yeah, whoever wants to kick us off with that one first.
There are a few gaps that are present. The first are the tools themselves and their accessibility level. So, some of these fantastic AI LLMs or tools that we may be adapting or wanting to adapt may not be accessible to our population of students. So we need to make sure that we are obtaining VPATs, voluntary product accessibility templates, or documentation about the accessibility of these tools before we deploy them or use them within our campus. Uh, Second, and this is a broader perspective, I'm also a classroom instructor, so I think about these things when I'm touting all of the benefits of AI to my students. There is an equity issue. There's an equity issue in students who can afford the subscriptions to the main LLMs that are very powerful, and those who are unable to afford those subscriptions, so they're stuck with the less powerful, less useful LLMs. And that's something we should be thinking about as well when we are evaluating AI technology or tools in our departments or our districts. And last but not least, and this is a little bit more of a controversial one, all of us who have worked in the field of accessibility have faced this with any accommodation that we request at one point or another. But the thing that worries me as an instructor and an accessibility practitioner uh, are the learning that the student is receiving when using these tools. And sometimes it can be a fine line between a student using this tool for access and a student leaning on this tool, which will, in the long run, limit their ability to master the material. And we're getting into the weeds on that one, but I felt I had to throw that out there as just one of my concerns. So those are my three kind of gaps for the
Yeah, yeah,
students.
yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. I think it kind of comes back to the point in the last question there. I think it was Hannah that made it. It's kind of we don't want to be in this position where a student's using a tool and just getting to the end result without actually going on that journey. I think it's the same in a lot of different ways as well. So, it's yeah, it's definitely a bit of a controversial one, a bit of a tricky topic. But yeah, go ahead, Hannah. I see you've unmuted yourself there.
Yeah, I think for the most part, AI is helping students close gaps. I think it's a really powerful tool. What I'm most concerned about too is almost on the like administrator side or like a product development side. If somebody um, doesn't know accessibility standards, what I'm seeing is people like running a web page through AI and saying like, oh, it's accessible, but it's not.
Mm,
And so I'm having maybe instructors being like, oh no, all my content is good. Students take their word for it. And then they're halfway through our semester or term and they realize, oh, I actually have been missing all of this content and I didn't know it.
mhm.
And so it's been misleading some people sometimes. And so that is almost the literacy side for faculty and staff that we need to work on.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear that 100%. I think it can be really difficult as well because, as we know, we might be dealing with one person who's running a department and is serving how many ever students, and do they have the capacity or the tools to actually test for accessibility? In a lot of cases, they don't, and they maybe do have to rely on, like you said, the word of vendors or certain tools as to whether they are accessible or not. So yeah, it can be definitely a tricky place to be in. Rosie, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, not to echo anything that Hannah and Scott have already said, because I think I'm spot on with all of that. I think the only thing I could add is just a metaphor I constantly think about when I think about AI, which is calculators. feel like when we were, when you're in grade school, they're like, you're gonna learn it the long way. You have to learn how to do the math first, and then you get to learn that there is a machine that can do that math for you much quicker. But you have to know how to do it first so that whenever you do use a calculator, you can be like, wait a minute, 2 + 2 is not 7. What is happening here? And like you can identify where something has gone wrong. So that's the only thing I think about really when it comes to AI tools and closing gaps is you really have to have the foundation of critical thinking and curiosity first so that you can really wield that tool before it ends up wielding you, like Scott said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think that's, along the lines of what we're talking about there, where we can make sure that students are, using it in the correct ways, whether it's workshops about how to do that as like an integral part of the process, right? Like we can't just take everything that comes out of AI as gospel. We have got to have the ability to sense check that. So that's a really important one as well. Absolutely.